Coming up on Verse, Chorus, Verse, a deep, deep reminder that this still is evil's fault. That's it.
Oh my God, that's so true.
Welcome to First Chorus Verse, episode a lot. I am DL. With me is Evil. Once again, this is his own fault, Jimmy. Evil, how are you?
I'll have to say that I'm glad that I'm not evil. Age ain't nothing but a number, Jimmy. And I'm a little disappointed that I'm not evil. If it's going to be this kind of party, I'm going to put my dick in the mashed potatoes, Jimmy. But we're here, and yes, it is my fault.
That's good. You came up with better ones than I could have.
Well, I put a little effort into it. This is my fault. I feel culpable here.
Also, just so everybody knows, not true. Age is a lot of things beyond just a number.
Yep.
Lots of culpability involved.
Turns out.
It turns out you can get in a lot of trouble. Just right out the gate, we're already talking about Aaliyah and R. Kelly. That's wonderful. It is a Saturday morning. Is your fast over? Are you done eating only meat and drinking only water and coffee?
Yes and no. This is the point where I ease up on it. So I'll kind of stick with that throughout the week and then give myself weekends to indulge a bit. As someone who had his foot in the fitness world, I never liked the concept of cheat meals. Like, I don't like that word. That's bad psychology. I don't like the word cheat.
You don't like the words.
No. Splurge or indulge or, something a little more like positive, rewarding versus I'm cheating. Yeah, that's just negative psychology.
Gotcha. I used to be really, really disciplined. I'm not anymore. So, hey. I used to be very good at doing extremely well during the week so that I could have a drink night on a Friday or a splurge meal, as Evil would call it, which by the time when I was really healthy, it always just ended up being either Jack in the Box or an entire bag of Doritos, usually is what it ended up being.
Excess and moderation, I think. I think that's a Doug Stanhope quote. He's like,
that's a great one.
Don't eat a few stems here and there. Wait till the end of the month and eat the whole bag and see God,
I like that. 1994. We're back on it, ladies and gentlemen. We're on it all year. We're on to quarter two. And I know what you're thinking. I mean, quarter one was absolutely insane. So it's going to calm down. No, it doesn't calm down. You could argue that this one has less than the first quarter, but it's a hard argument. It's a very hard argument.
I mean,
I think you could. I don't know. Actually, maybe no, maybe you can't. Here's the problem. It's not a problem. It's a fun thing. But the problem is that for us, a few of the major Q2 albums we've already done. We already did Purple. Mm-hmm. That was one of the 10 out of 10s that we've already done as a group this year. Right. There's another album from this quarter that we are talking about later on down the line that we've already recorded. So, it almost feels like that was quarter one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But no, now I'm looking at the list and it's actually kind of dead even. And one could even say that this quarter was the start of a very specific genre, just absolutely starting to kill it in 1994.
I'm interested
you look
in
confused.
That. I'm not quite sure what you mean, but yeah.
There were two very, very prominent albums of a very specific genre that was just about to become the biggest genre in the world for the next 30 years.
Yes, I think, well, maybe. I have a couple of theories.
I like it. I might just ask for your theories. Q2, 1994, Evil, what I realized starting to study for this is that I fucked up because we did a lot of the preliminary 94 stuff in general on the first episode. So we kind of blew through all that.
Right.
That might be a good thing. Maybe the rest of the 94s won't be double episodes, but there's also so much music to talk about.
Yeah.
So studying for this one, Evil, what was different than the first quarter?
It I don't want to say it felt more like work, but I think it was more daunting. Sort of realizing like, okay, we had like Q1 was fun, really fun to do because the member berries they were ripe. But now I'm like, I have to hold all of that in mind while moving forward. And I'm like, oh, Jesus, there's so much in this quarter. And this is just Q2. And I have to remember Q1. Yeah. And then if you peek ahead a little bit, there's still.
And then you got half a year to go.
Yes. And it doesn't slow down, turns out. So like each of these quarters is like its own year.
Yes.
In terms of how much music there is to explore and talk about and like kind of new discoveries, rediscoveries, it is reinforced. And there's a couple of hills that I've built and I'm going to have to die on them, because I built them. And one of them is that I previously was like, I think this is one of the greatest years in music broadly. And now I'm like convinced that that's the case. And
that
I'm building this hill.
The best?
I think it is, honestly.
Wow.
I mean,
we may have to have episodes. You know, what would be fun is having listeners on like once a year to have a 69 versus 94.
Yeah,
go.
I 69 is the contender. That's the other one.
That's the obvious, easy contender, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's hard. It's hard for us because we didn't grow up with that music. That music
right.
didn't hold the same exact nostalgia that it did for certain others.
I would say that I think as a year, just in general, 1969 culturally was much more important than 1994. Yeah. But
I don't know. They didn't have OJ.
Yeah. The juice.
Speaking of which, R.I.P. Raise your glasses, everybody.
Oh my God. The memes.
No,
man.
We're not doing it. Yeah, the memes have been. It's been a fun couple weeks in meme land with our dear pal OJ Simpson.
I miss Norm Macdonald more than ever right now.
Right? That. Yes. If only Norm was still alive for this.
Mm-hmm.
1994 Q2. We're going to get to it. We got a lot to talk about, obviously. I think this one's just going to be music. I've got a lot of things that I want to just start discussion-wise. This isn't going to be as organized as the other ones because at this point, we already know what was going on in 94. At this point, we just have to argue about what music was better and why. And that's pretty much all we're going to do. Actually, before we get started, I'm going to ask you a hard one right out the gate.
Yeah.
Do you think that you already know what your number one favorite album of this year is?
This is one of the hills that I've built.
I know.
I have to die on that. And yes.
But you don't though.
No, I do. I am stubborn.
Okay.
Rewind to last year when I'm like, this, what would be fun if we talked about 1994 for a whole year? That would be great, right? It's like,
yes.
And now I'm like, what have I done? What Frankenstein monster have I brought into the world?
Have I created?
Yes. I'm still really glad we're doing this. I didn't realize how daunting it would be. And we were like last night texting, kind of preparing for this episode. I said like the hardest thing is the focus on this, like staying focused on Q2 of 1994 is goddamn impossible for me because I'm like, but there was this and this. And then I'm all of a sudden I'm listening to The Cult for a half hour for no reason at all.
Trying to remember like when Offspring got shitty and like stuff like that, right?
Right.
Yes.
Oh my God. So it's coming into the year. I knew one of the reasons I wanted to do it is 3 of my all-time favorite albums are from this year. And we've talked about 2 of them already. One of them is one of the hills that I'm going to have to die on. So
what I like about these hills to die on, and you and Rachel and I are the same. We're stubborn as fuck. We're not going to change our mind on shit.
Except for
we'll
the difference. The difference between you and I and her is we actually like music.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think she adds that dimension of somebody on a music podcast that just hates it, which is really most of the population today. They just don't know it. Love you, Rachel.
Yeah, got to pick on her when she can't defend herself.
Exactly. It's my favorite. But what I love about that is that, for example, you have a hill you're dying on in Super Unknown, one of, if not the greatest album of all time, period. Yeah, and I'll get to the balloony other one too, but the beauty of something like that, for example, is it gives me the freedom to I don't have to defend Super Unknown. We've got that covered on the pod. I can start talking about another album that you know what I mean? I think it helps when we're that stubborn that it lets the other person be stubborn about something else.
100%. And the other thing is, like, I feel, because I've got my flag planted in that hill very firmly, I don't feel as emotionally attached to the top whatever lists that we come up with from this point on. Like, I'm just like, it's like, whose line is it anyways? You know, it's all made up and the points don't matter at this point for me.
Points don't matter.
Yeah.
In fact, you didn't even respond to the last one. You know what that means? That means my list is the list.
Yep. That's actually, I'm okay with it. I'm not even going to argue at this point. It's just, it is what it is. Plus, we'll
talk about it. We're going to talk about the top 3 of the list. What we did is, as you verse, chorus, verse lovers know, we did come up with the 10 best, not favorite, 10 best albums of 1994, quarter 1. It's King of the Mountain style. So quarter 2, we're keeping those same albums and then just bringing in quarter 2 albums. So it's quarter 1 and 2 together. Now, for favorite albums and favorite songs, that's all Q2. We did all Q2. Right. But the list is going to keep King of the Mountaining. And I think what we'll do, instead of just saying this is our 1, 2, and 3, we're going to give you the 3 and say why each of us thinks which ones we love the most, sort of thing. Yeah. Because I agree that at this point already, we're at Q2, and at this point, I'm looking at the top 4. And if somebody looked at me and said, your number 4 is the best album of the year, I'd be perfectly fine with it.
Yeah, exactly. I've picked my champion, and, you know,
you got to stick with the horse till it dies.
Yeah,
right?
Man. I mean, if you're a sports
dance
fan,
dance with the woman that brought you.
Yes, exactly. Something. If you're a sports fan and you have a team and they go to the Super Bowl and don't win, are you not a fan of that team anymore? No, you might be angry.
My football team lost the Super Bowl 4 years in a row, and I'm still a fan of them. So exactly, we got to get to the most important part. It is 9:30 a.m. for me, 10:30 a.m. for Evil, but you best believe we're drinking. What are we drinking this morning? I'm going first because I know a little about what Evil has, and he fucking wins. He wins like with 7 bullets. I am drinking my typical. So if we start before noon, I am always drinking boozy coffee. So this is just my pour over. I don't know what type. So we have an Atlas. It's called Atlas Coffee. Coffee subscription. So they send you coffee once a month from a different South American region. So it's like one month you get Ecuador, 1 month Colombia. That sort of thing. Yeah. I don't know what it is. It's good, but it also has that. I've been drinking it. You all know it's the Resurgent Botanical Whiskey with cream, and it's perfect. Little bit of the sugar cube in there. My favorite drink. It's my favorite drink in the world. We got to get to the fun one because it's impressive. It is. Evil, what are you drinking?
Well, a little backstory.
He's back with the bang.
Yeah. My lady and I went to Puerto Rico over spring break and
know.
Yeah, I know. We had some tremendous cocktails there. The cocktail game in Puerto Rico is off the fucking charts. So kudos.
It's like they have a lot of white tourists coming.
Oh my God.
That
yeah. And I'm going back, not in small part because of the cocktails there. Probably the best one that we had was called La Pequeña. and it's named after this road that connects the north and south of the island. Blah blah blah. There's a cool story behind it. I will butcher it. So go to Puerto Rico. We flew in. We got there late at night on was it a Wednesday night, and we like, let's go get a cocktail. Why not? And so we found this bar and drank this cocktail, and it was the best one, and we had it again. I think it was rum based. No, I know it was rum based, but they did a bacon fat wash on the rum, and then it had a plantain bitters and barrel aged maple syrup. And so I'm like, I'm gonna
explain to the people what a wash is.
So a fat wash is you add a fatty substance, whether it's like an olive oil or like milk punches follow the kind of the same idea where you put like dairy in a spirit of some kind, and then you separate it. You separate the spirit from whatever fat you put in, and it pulls out things, it adds things, it changes the liquor. So
changes
what I did,
flavor notes,
yeah, it changes
like
the flavor.
Lot.
It removes certain compounds, imbues certain properties from whatever you choose to put in there. Like I'm experimenting with doing a olive oil wash with vodka and gin. But so for this one, it's simple. I just put some bacon fat and some Buffalo Trace and shook it up and let it sit for a few days. And so I've made an old fashioned, and I have a bottle of Whistle Pig maple syrup. And so this is the pig drink. I made an old fashioned.
We're trying to think of a name.
Yeah, I'm just going to call it the Hog Wild Old Fashioned for now, because it's got bacon, fat wash, Buffalo Trace, and Whistle Pig.
And Whistle
syrup.
Pig.
Other than that, it's my normal old fashioned. I do my bitters are a 2-to-1 Bitter Truth, aromatic bitters, and Angostura. Some of that maple syrup, Buffalo Trace, ice, and orange peel. And it is... I pulled out the fine glass, my Waterford Crystal rocks glass for this one because it deserves it. It's so,
and it's not too sweet.
Good. No, I put it in a bar spoon.
The only thing that hits
syrup.
my head. Okay. Yeah, the only thing that hit my head was like, God, that might be.
So next, I'm gonna go try to find the rum, Ron del Barrilito. It's a Puerto Rican rum, and I ordered a plantain amaro. I'm gonna try to recreate that La Pequeña.
Nice.
Yep.
So you have all day to drink these.
Yeah.
Basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I purposely. I think I've been on 15 flights in the last 6 days.
What?
So, yeah. San Diego in the morning, over to St. Louis, leaving in the morning to go to... I've just been fucking everywhere. But today, I purposefully planned 0 things after this. And I'm basically just going to Homer Simpson it on the couch and just drink a ton of beer, and that's it. You know what I'm probably going to... Let's be honest. We're going to get done here, and I'm just going to want to listen to all these albums. That's what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. Do you know what else is difficult is focusing on 94 and then also trying to pull in stuff like stay on top of new music, listen to stuff for the episodes that we're doing that are not 94 based. It's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I think we thought splitting up 94 into 4 episodes, into 4 segments each rotation. Like, okay, that's a good way. That's a split. No, it doesn't work. Not just 30 albums to try to wrap your head around, but 30 insanely awesome albums of bands that have massive stories that went on to do a ton of other shit. And no, you're right. It's a lot. It is. But we're doing it for you, everybody.
It's like coyotes.
We love you so much.
Is what it is. Do you know about the coyote population and what happened when we as stupid humans tried to get rid of it? Behaviorally, they do this thing where they howl at night. It's like a roll call. And
yeah,
in terms of like animal behavior, they have so much overlap with humans in terms of their adaptability. So if you try to like kill the coyotes to get rid of them, the roll call is off. And when they're calling at night, they're like, oh shit, not consciously, subconsciously, the females will start having larger litters. And so it creates more coyotes. Coyotes, whatever. That's what happened here. Is we tried to split it up into 4 to make it more. No, it just made more fucking coyotes.
It's just
for us.
fucking yeah. Oh, that's spectacular. Oh, if only I could still title the episodes. Q2 1994, Litter of Coyotes. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. are back. 1994, quarter two. This is really just going to be a lot of discussion. We're not outlining it the way that we did. I have some prompts. I have some things I want to discuss. I have some stupid questions I want to ask Evil. The first thing we do have to do, and they call it a friendship test for a reason. Evil, your favorite Q2 album is Purple, and if he says differently, he's lying.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Evil, what do you think my favorite album of Q2 is?
Well, I'm going to stick with what my first answer was, but I have waffled a bunch.
Okay.
There's some music that I really wasn't too aware of until I dug in for the year, and I'm like, oh Jesus, this is so good. So it could be a number of things. However,
it is.
I'm going to go with the safe choice, which I think is Weezer, the Blue Album.
That is a good choice.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about. I have a feeling the Blue Album is gonna come up today. I just have a feeling.
Right.
I am gonna talk about breakout artists of the year. This is not a breakout artist of '94, but it was their first album. I think their breakout was closer to 2000, but I just want to hear your opinion because I don't think I've ever talked about them with you. Evil, what are your thoughts on Outkast?
Oh, fucking amazing.
You strike me as an Outkast guy.
Yes, I am. To your point, it was like the early 2000s is when I really became aware.
Yeah, I think it was Bombs Over Baghdad, and when Stankonia came out, and all of a sudden all us whiteies were like, oh. What the fuck is this?
Right. I'm simple.
But yeah, Southern Playalistic Cadillac music came out in 94, and suddenly Atlanta, Georgia had fucking hip hop.
Right.
And not just hip hop, but like
groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking, unique, inventive, refreshing hip hop.
Yes.
Everybody's eyes were on, Compton and Brooklyn, and all of a sudden we actually have like this really cool Southern hip hop shit. You should check us out. And if I'd have to think about it, but I think with the exception of Tupac, like they're my favorite rap group.
Oh wow.
I think Outkast is probably my favorite.
That's not a bad choice. That's a segue into another interesting conversation about the year. Like we talked about the debut albums of 1978 and how it was like, I mean, and I'm not going to, that's another mountain that I built that's a hill I will die on as well, because fucking Van Halen is at the top of that hill. But talk about the debut albums this year are pretty fucking it's a crazy list.
Yes.
And that's one of them. That's one of them. There's another hip hop debut album that wasn't too bad either.
No, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a couple.
Yeah.
Not today. We're going to talk about another one. We can save it, but like your favorite band of all time's debut album was this year, right? Second favorite, third favorite band of all time? Wasn't Lunar Strain their debut?
Yes, it was. I was like, where are you? Huh? I thought you were fucking with me a little bit.
Where are you going with this?
Yeah.
We can talk.
Yes.
Is that in your favorite list?
Is In Flames in my favorite list?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course they're one of my favorite bands. For sure.
Do you want to? We can hold that and talk about it then.
Let's talk about it now, just for funsies.
Okay.
What did you listen to it?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Lunar Strain?
I like it more than what was the In Flames album that came out last year? Was it last year or the year before?
Oh God, you fuck me.
Yeah, it's like kind of green and red. I just remember I remember the cover. Foregone in 2023.
So
yeah, it looks like the Lord of the Rings dude on the cover.
All right.
We reviewed that, and I was pretty meh on it. You told me to listen to. Was it?
I don't remember.
It was like
was it like Come Clarity?
It's like a 2000s album, I think.
Come Clarity is probably what that would be.
Come Clarity. No, that's what it was. It was Come Clarity. I like this more than both of those.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Well,
I don't know why.
The interesting thing is then I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about the next 3 to 4 albums in their catalog.
This one is so melodic. Like this one is
melodic death metal. That is, they sort of were one of the inventors of that genre.
That's kind of where I was going with it, is when I think back to 94, I feel like if I tried to find somebody else doing something like this, I'm not going to find it.
No.
I'm not going to find it anyway.
I mean,
even if I scoured weird, European sites, I'm not going to find shit.
It's like these guys at the gates, Carcass, they were like, the Swedes were fucking killing it at this time in terms of like very folk music inspired death metal is kind of what it is.
Yes.
Yeah. Carcass is a different thing. That's more of an English band. I mean,
they were also killing each other, right? They weren't just
those
killing
are the
it.
Finns. The Finns are the, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Not the Finns. So,
we are going to have to do an episode on the Norwegian black
those were the
metals.
Norwegians, not the Finns. The Finns are a different.
Norwegians.
Finns are a completely different. Like, you think Finland, Sweden, Norway are right next to each other. Some similarities, but some major differences too. The Finns are also very interesting musically. They've retained the folk stuff quite a bit.
This is a rabbit hole evil, and we won't go down it now, but I am currently on a deep, deep rabbit hole obsession with the black metal murders that happened in the early 90s. That whole story, it's not just murders, like the whole story, it goes all the way back to, like Christianity taking over in Norway, and like the layers of that fucking story. Like, we're gonna have to do an episode on it someday, because
you know what I would like to hear, because most of the like documentaries and stuff that is talked about that is very much heavy metal community focused stuff. I want like a true crime podcast version of it.
That's what I'm saying. I think we should look at it more of like a historical true crime and do like do an episode on it.
It's wild. It is,
because it's the shit that was that happened was fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm super into that now. But I didn't. Sorry, I cut you off. Where is this album for In Flames?
In the In Flames sort of like pantheon for me, it's not super high.
How about not for you, because I don't want to spoil if it's in your favorite or not. But where do you think it is in the metal community? Do you know?
To your point, because there was really nothing like this before, it has some gravitas to it because of that.
Yeah.
But the Jester Race is really where they clicked, and for my money, it's Horacle and Colony. That's like the golden age of In Flames, the like fourth and fifth albums. But one interesting fact about Lunar Strain is it's the only album where the vocalist is an Anders, who's been their vocalist since Jester Race, and is still their vocalist. Lunar Strain, they had a buddy come in who wasn't an official member, and it was Michael Stana, who is the singer for the Halo Effect. So the Halo Effect,
that's right,
are all ex-In Flame members, including the vocalist, who was never an official In Flames member, but did vocals on this album. So that's a cool little footnote to it. Yeah. And he is,
God, they've all been around for fucking ever.
Forever. I love that guy. He's awesome, man. He's so cool. Dark Tranquility is also a cool band too. His main band.
Do you have a Height of Power band for this quarter?
Oh, I could make an argument for a breakout / Height of Power band.
I like it. What is it?
It's The Offspring.
So my topic of discussion for this was, was this the best that Offspring would be? And B, is it actually good?
Smash?
Is Smash good, or is it just nostalgia that...
It's good.
I went back and forth when I listened to this. I listened to this a few times this week, and it wasn't until last night that I was convinced that it actually is just, for its time and place, it's just a really good fucking album. Like, we needed that sort of metal punk sort of, like...
Yeah.
It's not speed punk. It's heavier than what Green Day was trying to do.
Yeah, it's not like
It's
hardcore.
Yes. It's kind of like a good mixture. And
Yeah.
I think it's more what Offspring became, which I hate. That I think that's what was making me question it. You know? Because it's like, these guys turned into a fucking joke.
Right.
You know?
They got paid, but hey.
But we were of that. Like, how many times did you listen to this album when it came out?
Oh my God, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was huge. I think it's a great album. I think it's a very good album. I
do too.
To your point, it is disappointing what they become. They became a parody of themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were trying really hard to be, songs like "Fly for a White Guy."
Yeah, too tongue in cheek.
Yeah, but you tried to be so witty that you ended up just being kind of like Weird Al Yankovic, kind of. Like it's,
Hey, and maybe that was the career. Like they recorded this album, which is I think fantastic, and they're like, let's get paid. Let's set ourselves up for life, And I respect that in a business sense, right?
Taking over some shit. Well, and isn't the lead singer like a fucking genius? Didn't he end up getting some some like fucking astrophysics degree and something like some fucking crazy shit? It's microbiology.
Dexter. I can't. I'm not 100%, but I think he has a PhD.
It's one of those things where I kind of like that I can't tell if this album's amazing or if I just grew up with it and so I love these fucking songs. You know what I mean?
I think it's great. I'm gonna go with that.
Good.
They couldn't be tongue in cheek on this album. They didn't have the industry status to do that.
Yes.
Right. So I feel like this is a more serious. There's silly, quirky choices. You got to keep them separated. That's a quirky song, but it wasn't. It wasn't parody. It wasn't tongue in cheek parody, like what they eventually became.
I agree. I'm glad that you said that about not having the gravitas yet, because I forgot that this is the best selling independent album of all time. Of all time. I don't know how the fuck it happened. But I think it's just what the people wanted at the time. You know what I mean?
Wild.
It's a great album.
I think so too. I agree. I think it is a very, very good album.
I don't know. I can't even answer if it's aged poorly or not. I don't know if it has.
I think what the problem there is the lens of what they became. It kind of blinds us to what that album actually is.
I think you're right. I want to go to hidden gems, things that we found while researching we weren't aware of, because you made me aware of a project last night.
So, obviously, guitar fan. If anyone listens to the podcast at all, they know that I'm an idiot that loves like triumphant guitar from hair metal to metal shredders. That's just my thing. And I've always been
like the guitar,
a Zakk Wylde fan as long as I can remember in his career. And it really I will always be a fan of his, and that rests on his work with Ozzy, that like No More Tears era stuff, and then this album, and it's the project was called Pride and Glory, and the album's self-titled Pride and Glory. And this was I'm gonna build another hill here, and I'll die on it. This era of Zakk Wylde, which is like long blonde straight hair, clean shaven, bell bottom wearing, Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan influenced Zakk Wylde, is one of the greatest musicians ever. And then he's still good. The guy's a great guitar player. But if you're like, what are you fucking talking about? What bullshit are you spewing? I implore you to go find his MTV Unplugged. Like, I won't say the song yet because I'm going to talk about it later. Find MTV Unplugged Zakk Wylde acoustic and watch him perform. Dude, it is hard to get better than that musically.
Interesting. I'll have to go check it out.
Yeah, he's veered
because
into
I
like
always
Black Label Society. He looks like a fucking extra from Sons of Anarchy now, and he's still a great player. He's doing the Pantera thing, which that's controversial.
Well,
you know,
from what I don't know that much about Zach, but I always loved, because when I was a kid, I loved the No More Tears.
Oh, so good.
Ozzy Osbourne
Yeah.
era.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Me too.
I had always thought of him as like, he's a fine guitarist.
Yep.
Not amazing, not bad, but he was, like, okay, Pantera had this reputation for the white trash hillbillies loved him, even though they weren't, like, Dimebag Darrell couldn't be farther from that.
Right. Can't Stop, Won't Stop.
Zach Wilde struck me as the dude that was that.
Right.
It was like, I am the fucking Southern white trash. Like, you know what I mean?
He's from New Jersey, though, is the weird thing. And like, he's not even Southern.
That's what's weird. But
Yeah.
he did. He wanted to be that like tough biker redneck sort of dude, you know?
Very much.
So I think maybe that rubbed people the wrong way,
Of course.
because back in the 90s, that wasn't cool.
No.
It was cool to be, like the loser pasty white dude in flannel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
This
I
era,
like Zach Wilde.
The Pride and Glory sort of version of him. I wish he would have went more down that road than
Me too.
The like I said, Sons of Anarchy extra.
Yes,
like Black
that's
Label
the
Society
perfect explanation. Yes.
Right, the beard and the leather and stuff. It's fine. There's some Black Label Society stuff that I enjoy. He's on and off with Ozzy. The dude is, on just the recordings with Ozzy alone, that puts him in the conversation with Jake E. Lee, even Randy Rhoads a little bit. He's obviously not as good as Randy Rhoads, but he's in that conversation with just that work. The Pride and Glory stuff is such a fucking left turn. I want you talk about it. Tell me your.
It's such a left turn for the day. It's such a I said last night.
Fucking
you
banjo
told me you were like Pride and Glory, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And I go and look, and the first thing you see on Spotify is a picture of them looking like Lynyrd Skynyrd in front of a Southern church, and I'm like, fuck, like what the fuck are we doing, Evil? I turn it on, and the first song is starts with banjo with this amazing riff that ends up being banjo and badass electric guitar together, and he starts singing, and it's like the Dead South. It's fucking awesome. It's such a badass song that, like, I dare you to find anybody else doing anything like that in 1994.
Then? No.
And then I saw that the producer on it is the same guy that produced Sap. Because the first thing I said to you, Evil, this is like Jerry Cantrell, like solo Jerry Cantrell with the Dead South. And and then it's, of course, the guy that produced Sap. It's these guys like Jerry Cantrell and Zach Wilde that kind of had to hide, like, they're fucking ranch Texas country dudes.
Yeah.
But they kind of had to hide that in that era because it wasn't cool.
Yeah.
That song fucking rocks, man. And the album is very, very hit and miss. Like, there's some.
It's up and down. But the ups, like I said, the ups are so fucking worth it.
I agree. I was very eye-rolly, and then 30 seconds into the song, I was like, oh, I'm in. This is fucking rad.
Well, and it's a trio. It's Zach on guitar, obviously. And then the bass player is from fucking White Lion. It's James Lomenzo from White Lion, who's playing with Megadeth now. He's also played with Roth. He's played with Whitesnake. I mean, what I say to you, like that guy has seen some shit, that guy in his career.
That guy has never been here again on his own.
And the drummer, Brian, it's Tichy. I don't know if that's Tichy or Tichy. He's also very accomplished. He's played with like Billy Idol and Slash and Dead Daisies is current project. He's played with David Lynch Bob. So these are like really fucking good musicians, all three of them.
Yeah.
And they're doing like this Southern rock stuff, like you said. Nobody was like bell bottoms, long straight hair. Nobody was doing that shit in 1994.
I want to talk about two songs. One song I want to talk about because it was everywhere. It came out in this quarter, and you couldn't get away from it. And I could never hide. I had to hide the fact that I fucking hated it. and it's the song Regulators. I hated that fucking song, but I had to hide it because that was like the coolest fucking song of 1994. Were you a Regulator? Did you mount up a lot?
Okay. For me, because I'm a fan of Young Guns, the Young Guns movies, it pulled me in. Do you see the size of that cockadoodle goddamn do? I'm a fan of, especially the first Young Guns movie. In the moment, yeah, I like that song. It was like it's like Snoop Dogg light is really what it is.
It totally is.
And I mean, and like Warren G introduced Snoop Dogg to Dr. Dre, so there's like the ties are there.
And I love Warren G. I think Warren G wrote some of the best hip hop hooks for years and years, like up until the mid 2000s, he was writing insane hooks. I love Warren G. Yeah. That song always just struck me as that was like Hollywood's version of the hood.
Yeah, it was.
You know what I mean?
Was
like that's how it.
Pop rap product of the day. Yeah, 100%.
Which good for them. Like I mean,
right.
Like we said about whoever else, they got rich as fuck off of it. So
100%. Good
job.
You go, Warren G and Nate Dogg. You guys you did the thing.
And then I have a guilty pleasure song that I want to talk about.
Ooh.
Because I hate the artist. He's a very large Americana artist that you're not supposed to say you hate. I hate. But the song Wild Night by John Cougar Mellencamp. I fucking loved that song so much. I loved that song.
That's funny that's a guilty pleasure for you. I have a guilty pleasure this year too. We'll talk about that later.
Is it Regulator?
No, it's not.
That wouldn't be guilty.
No.
You could be proud of
I think he is that's a human being who is able to punch up in his songwriting from time to time. I'll just say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's just fair. He's just another.
What are your thoughts on Jack and Diane? Do you hate it, love it?
Hate. I don't think there's another John Cougar Mellencamp song that I like.
Oh, okay.
I really don't. I think he might be you know how you have your thoughts on your very, very passionate thoughts on Bruce Springsteen?
Yes.
He's kind of my Bruce Springsteen. I just do not see the value there. Fair. I never have. You know what I mean?
I get it. I like him less now.
Okay.
You have forever tied him to Bruce Springsteen, so I will like him less.
Yes.
Yeah.
we can hate the Mellencamp together.
Yep. He should have stuck with John Cougar. That's a cool name.
Yeah, he's just John Mellencamp now.
Yeah.
Let's do our favorite albums and songs first.
Like our top,
and then we'll talk about
5?
All that. Our top 5.
Yeah. I like.
We're gonna take a break. We're gonna talk about our top 5 albums and songs, favorites, not best, and then we're basically just gonna talk about every album that came out.
Okay. Perfect. I like it.
We're gonna take a break. We'll be right back. We are back. We need to talk about our favorite albums of the year, not best, favorites. Do you have 5?
I do. Well, I have 2. I have honorable mentions and then 5 favorites.
Okay, I have one honorable mention. What are your honorable mentions?
My honorable mentions are really, I put them in here. I know this is favorites, but did you include albums that are on the top 10 list? Yeah.
Okay. I did not.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Everybody does their own thing, right?
God damn it. All right. So the honorable mentions really are albums that are not my favorite. They're albums that I'm like, holy fuck, these are so good.
Oh, okay.
But they were so far from being on my radar at the time. Here's the problem with this year is like, there's just not enough time to listen to all of the music in as much depth as it needs to be. And what I realized
some of it you just have to go off of what you remember, and you just don't have time to, delve into it.
100%. And I kind of realized that there were like musical movements in different areas of the world that didn't affect me here. And so England, for example. So different musical tastes. Yes, there's overlap between the grunge era and West Coast rap, but for my focus was not on these two albums, and they are Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Let Love In, and Blur's Park Life. Those are just like I was not even close to being on my radar at the time, or even really up until this podcast. Those bands, those are fucking great albums. And
I actually did a Rolling Stone episode on YouTube on Park Life, so go watch that. If you want to. It's 7 minutes of me talking about how that's a great album, but it's not Blur's best. But yeah, that was cool. Okay, no, I can't say it like that because to most people that's not true. To me, that was London's answer to Oasis. Like the cool people's, why the fuck are we letting Oasis represent us when it should be something like Blur? Basically,
right.
that's how I think of Park Life.
Oh, there are people in England who are like shouting right now.
Like when when I think of Park Life, I think of movies like Snatch, or like the kind of seedy underbelly Britpunk sort of stuff. That's what I think of, and that's what I want. That's what I want out of the Brits.
Yeah, I agree.
And Nick Cave's Nick Cave. I think we might talk about him later.
Yeah.
I have an honorable mention, but I'm not going to. It's Dave Matthews' first album, kind of recently, came out this quarter. But it's mostly just a live.
Yeah.
It's mostly just live stuff. So, but to come out with your first album being all live, it just kind of perfectly encapsulates the band. To come out with your first album, it's a live album, and it be that good when you're kind of fucking poor in Virginia just recording your own live performances, and you come out with an album and it just fucking murders. That's fucking cool. So that's my honorable mention.
Fair.
Do you have any other honorable mentions? Is that it?
For albums, yeah.
I'll go to my fifth favorite album of 1994. It is my second favorite album by a singer-songwriter who I have loved for a long time. It is Dart to the Heart by Bruce Cockburn. It is super, it's Bruce Cockburn. It's singer-songwriting. It's, I was way into all of that. When I realized that songwriting mattered and I started getting into, Stan Ridgway and John Prine and Bruce Cockburn, this album was a big one for me. I do think that this is one of his best pieces of work. I think it's the fucking songwriter. It's Bruce Cockburn, with the exception of maybe Neil Young, and I mean it, maybe. I think he's the best Canadian songwriter that we've gotten.
Wow.
And this album rocks.
Wowzy wowzers.
That's my number 5. Do you like Bruce Cockburn?
I'm a big John Prine fan, so I'm interested in. Yeah, huge John Prine fan.
Give it a shot. It's fucking cool. What's your number 5?
I'm rethinking this a little bit because all of my top 5 are probably all in the top 10 because I'm so simple.
I don't think it's bad to have them represented.
Oh my God.
Because honestly, if I did my real top 5, they'd probably all be from the top 10 list.
Okay.
For sure.
I'll do it then. I'm going to do Smash as my number 5. And
see, I like that.
So
I like that.
This is like, if I were to pull albums from this quarter of 94 and be like, these are the albums that I want to listen to, that's what I'm doing. These are the albums that I want to listen to from this quarter of 94.
I think that's perfect. Oh, and I like that one because I'll just say it now. That one did not make it into our top 10 best.
Okay.
It was in the conversation along with a couple others that we'll talk about. But yeah, that's not in the top 10, but it questionably, like, it's one of those that was floating around it for me anyway. I'll say, so the top 10 is basically my top 10.
Yeah.
Because
I tapped out,
people
man.
basically said, fuck you, I'm not doing this, which is very understandable. So what we're going to do is down the line, we'll give you the top 10 best, which is essentially my list. And then instead of ranking the top 3, we're just going to discuss them because it's not, we'll talk about it. So I think I like that you have Offspring Smash on yours.
Okay, good.
I listened to it last night. I had a blast.
Yeah, it's great.
It's great.
Yeah.
Oh, what's your number 4?
Betty by Helmet. is my number 4. Probably not in the top 10. Maybe not.
Edit that out, David. Damn dipshit. I would give out an award for album that I studied for this for probably the last like 3 to 4 weeks. The album that I could not stop going back to was Betty.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I couldn't.
I love that.
So I'm a very, very pattern laden person. I have exact podcast I want to listen to when I'm in a rental car. I only listen to music when I'm departing planes to walks. Like, I'm weird. I have super specific things. And I feel like the last 2 weeks, 50% of the time I ended up just going back to Betty and listening to it. It's so fucking good, dude.
What are your thoughts on Helmet as a band catalog wise?
To be honest, I don't know their whole catalog very well. I know 2 of their, I have owned previously 2 of their albums, Betty being one of them. Mm-hmm. I've always seen Helmet, like, as amazing as they are, I always saw them as, you know, those bands like Mudhoney that everybody says influences everything, but they never really listen to them. I don't know people that listen to Helmet, but if you say,
sure.
if you ask them, like, who did their, you know, like, Tool's everybody's favorite band. Well, who influenced Tool? Fucking Helmet.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at with Helmet.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm a massive Meantime fan. Their first album is so good. And I love Betty too, but Meantime is like, if I had to pick like a go-to album, it would be, and I like Aftertaste, which did not do well as an album, but it has a fucking great song on it. I do like it, but Meantime for me it like knocked me over when it first came out because I had never heard, well, nobody had ever heard anything fucking like it. And to your point, like, who influenced Korn? Who influenced Tool? Yeah. It was Helmet. Helmet influenced all of those bands.
Yes, absolutely. No, I think that's a great pick. My number 4, which is going to be much more, because I'm me and I'm fucking weird and everybody's going to think it's dumb. I don't care. You're all stupid. It is Boingo by Oingo Boingo.
I fucking love it. Oh my God.
I think this is Oingo Boingo's best album. I've loved it since I loved Oingo. I mean, okay, it's Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
I when I was young, I was obsessed with fucking Danny Elfman. So I
love it.
It's Oingo Boingo. I'm going to like it all. And speaking of bands that were doing things that nobody else were, Danny Elfman is a fucking composer. He's brilliant. So if you go listen to that album, it's not written, it's composed. You know, it's complex. It's got weird guitar parts and weird time signatures, and it's carnival-y, like those 1920s oddity carnival sort of things. That's how the album feels.
That's very of the time, 1994 MTV Liquid Television kind of,
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like Sober by Tool, kind of, which they stole from, I don't remember who. Who did they steal that from?
I don't know. There's a clip of Kurt Cobain talking about
Cobain when he's like, I like Sober before when it was so-and-so. Ah, well. Sorry, Tool. We'll go to my number 3 and we can talk a little more about it now. Your honorable mention, but Let Lovin' by Nick Cave. This is one of my favorite Nick Cave albums. I think this is the type of Nick Cave that is the best Nick Cave. He lost his way for a long time pretty soon after this, and then found it again when he did the fucking monkey jerking off album. What was it? We need Angie here to tell us about one of her favorite albums.
The Grinder Man.
God damn it. Grinder Man. Yeah. Thank you. Good job. Yeah, the Grinder Man album, which is fucking brilliant, and I actually probably like more than Let Love In. But it's still Nick Cave being Nick Cave, and even though when I listen to this album, I can only think of that Dumb and Dumber scene where he's in the big fucking hat and he's playing with the paddle thing. It's still
Cripes.
The album is. I got robbed by an old lady on a motorized cart, and I didn't even see it coming. It's fucking. The album is so fucking badass. Mm-hmm. It is. I love it. Yeah. What's your number 3?
It is Ill Communication by Beastie Boys.
I love it.
You know,
I love it.
What I realized listening to that album and kind of remembering Beastie Boys is after MCA passed away, they just kind of fucking fell off in terms of like pop culture focus, I guess. But up until that point, they were enormous. Enormous.
When it was like my junior year in high school, they came out with, I think it was Intergalactic. This is going to sound douchey. I don't care. But I remember all of because I was friends with everybody in high school. I got along with everybody because I was a partier. So I got along with like nerds, jocks, I loved everybody. And all the jocks found that album and got obsessed with them. And I remember thinking the whole time, like, dude, you know, these guys have been coming out with this exact same music for fucking 40 years, right? Like, this is exact same fucking music. Every generation, I feel like every generation finds them is like, holy fuck, the fucking Beastie Boys are amazing. I do think that Ill Communication is one of, if not their best album.
I agree. Yeah, it's really fucking good.
That's a good pick. I love it. We're not done talking about that album. No. What about your number 2?
It's my top pick for you. It's Weezer's Blue Album.
The album that is blue.
Yep.
We'll find out soon. I don't even want to touch it. I want to talk about it later.
Also a debut, by the way.
Also a debut, that's fucking insane that is a debut album. My number 2 is a band that I think a lot of people have heard of, but I don't think anybody else ever has listened to this album. It's Sync by Floater. They're a Portland, Oregon band. I want to talk about nostalgia in music. When I was young, I had a neighbor, 2 grandparents, who would have their granddaughter out every summer. And so every summer we'd hang out all fucking summer. And I remember one summer, she came to town. All of a sudden, she was not a kid anymore. And I don't mean that in a weird way. I just mean like all of a sudden she's like wearing a fucking, you know, those like gray washed army shirts, and she's got like camo pants on, and she wants to go downtown and smoke cigarettes and she like has learned about weed. All of a sudden it's like, oh fuck, I have a friend that's an adult now. Okay.
Right.
And, and she brought this, and this was the first album that she knew the guy. She was out of Portland. And this was the first time that I'd been like handed adult music by another kid.
Right.
That was like, well, this has to be what I like because she likes it and she's the coolest fucking person I know. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is one of those albums that I forget about for 5 years and then I go back and listen to it again. And I'm telling you, I'm not huge on like heavy stoner, or it's not metal, but it's heavy stoner rock. I think this album's brilliant, and I don't know. I just think it's fucking amazing. That's my number 2. Do you know Floater at all?
I don't, not even remotely.
I would just try the first 3 songs on this album. I think that you would at least like parts of it because
I agree. I have some in my ear right now, and I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah, I think it's probably it's got to be somewhat influential. There's got to be, these guys had to be underground big because some of the shit that they do, it's pretty rad. And then my number 1 is another unknown, not an unknown band, but an album. It was their last album that they'd ever come out with. There's no lyrics in it, so Rachel, don't even bother. It is Full Circle by the Dixie Dregs. I'm a massive Dixie Dregs fan. I always have. I love all of their Night of the Living Dregs, all of their. I love all of it. It's a fucking power band, you know. Right. It's a fucking, hey, we're 6 absolutely brilliant musicians. It's fucking Steve Morse. Steve Morse is. He's one of the most underrated guitarists ever. Right. He's so fucking underrated. Yeah. It's very 80s. It's cheesy. I think it's one of the greatest musician albums that I will ever hear. So if you're a musician, go listen to First Full Circle by Dixie Dregs. That's my favorite album of this quarter. My uncle showed it to me when I was a little kid. I've been obsessed with it ever since. Evil, what are your final favorites?
My final favorites. Well, I said Weezer Blue. is my number 2.
That was your 2,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. What's your favorite?
You picked it. I mean, I am my simple bitchedness is showing right now because of my picks, but it is Purple by Stone Temple Pilots. It is one of the 3 albums, also including Super Unknown, coming into the year that have been my favorite albums since the time. So,
yeah.
and you know what's funny is prepping for this episode, I didn't even listen to it. I turned it on this morning, just a little bit. Because I'm like, I didn't listen to it. I don't fucking need to. I mean, I want to.
We've already, yeah.
I want to.
No, I know what you mean.
But I didn't
but
need
to. We already studied this. You listen to the episode.
I've been studying this
stupid,
for 20,
go listen to
for 30 years.
Yeah.
Jesus. I can't believe I said 20 first because it's 30.
I don't know what the fuck's happening with this episode. I do know that it's a 2-parter now. I don't know how long the second part is. So I'm ending it here. Hey, everybody, come back Thursday. We're going to give you the second half of this. Not much is going to be different.
No.
We love you. Good night and good luck.